Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wilde, and welcome to the Spaces Between. Hope you guys are having just a fantastic Thursday. So, welcome to, I guess, Theology Thursday. It's got a good ring to it, right? Um, um, oh, shoot. Hold on. One moment. Hold, please. Um, I can't talk and type. There we go. Um, there. Yes. Um, yeah, I can only do like one or two things at one time. So yeah, there I am. So yes, I hope you guys are having just a great day. Here in North Idaho, we are warm. I know it's a dry heat, and it's not like, and everybody else is like, oh, it's so hot here, and we're dying, and literally, it's in places that I'm sorry, but but yeah, um, I I don't deal well with the heat. So if the fan is blowing and it is too noisy, somebody send me a message and let me know, and I will. I'll I'll change it. I'll turn it off for a little bit and suffer to let you guys hear me. So first, real quick, I am going to do the commercial that pays the bills. So I'm going to talk about Blockbuster Health real quick. Blockbuster Health. Um, yes, it's hey everyone, tired of paying outrageous prices for your medications while other countries pay a fraction of the cost? I am. President Trump just signed an executive order to fix this problem, but why wait? BlockbusterHealth.com is already offering Americans these savings right now. We're talking up to 80% off the same exact medications that you are already taking. So, same brand, same quality, just fair prices. Whether it's Ozempic, insulin, or any other prescription, Blockbuster Health connects you directly with licensed pharmacies that offer international pricing. No middlemen, no markup, just honest prices. Call 1-888-350-1353 or visit blockbusterhealth.com. Americans shouldn't have to choose between their health and their wallet, so check it out. Because you shouldn't have to. I know that medications are bloody expensive. As someone who has to pay for medications, it is stupid. So, yes. And some of them are like ridiculous. It's like, really? You want me to pay how much for that? Seriously. Um, and yeah. Yeah. So, Theology Thursday. I don't know if we'll do a full hour or not. We'll see. Um, see how it goes. Um, yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm just like, erp. Um, boop. There we go. And mostly just seeing how it flows. And if anybody has any questions, that's kind of the big deal here. So if you're in the chat rooms, there should be a Twitter chat, there should be a Rumble chat, there should be a YouTube chat, all of those things. So yeah, if you pop up and you have a question, let me know. So Theology Thursday, what's that mean? I'm going to try to do herbs every so often also because I think those are important too. I've already done diatomaceous earth, which isn't really an herb, but yet is. Yeah, it is. And then it's dirt. um, but yeah, no, it was a good one because DE is one of those things that is non toxic for animals. It really is. The biggest thing, though, is that It will, if you apply it to your home or to your vegetation around your home or what have you, it is a desiccant to um, life with an exoskeleton. Um, so it will dehydrate and kill off bugs like spiders. So spiders fall into that classification for those of us that don't like the creepy crawlies. Yes, I don't like spiders. I'm better now than I was. But things like roaches, honestly, lice, fleas, mites, bed bugs, those gross things. So like I put a little bit of diatomaceous earth in my kitty litter for the cat box because I do have a cat still. Even though I lost Merlin earlier this year, I still have Drama. Um, but with the chickens, I put a little bit in their dust bowl so when they roll around in the dust, hey Gemini, so when they're rolling in the dirt and having a good time and dusting themselves, I add a little DE to their dirt so that they're not getting any mites there. And then um, same honestly with the pigs. I'll put it in with the pig slop or in their pig pen. So when they're rolling around, the pigs are rolling around so they don't have like bugs there too. And just same kind of thing. Just be careful because if you put it on your flowers and your garden and stuff, trying to kill off mites and bugs there, it will also kill off your pollinators like your butterflies and your bees. So be be aware of what you are applying to your gardens because just because it says it's organic does not mean it is chemical free. There are organic chemicals that they will apply or they have approved to apply to your plants. So just be aware. So, Theology Thursday. It's been so long since I started off. I feel like, or started doing a show. I feel kind of like we almost need to like start at the very beginning, and just like, what does that mean, right? So, uh, I'm an omnitheist, meaning I believe in all the gods. And I'm going to say that on more than one occasion. I'm going to repeat it often because I want the kids in the back row to hear it also. Because it's important, I think, for people to understand that you don't have to believe in just one set of gods or one set of the theological matrices. You can believe in all of them. You can believe in none of them. If you don't think that those that don't believe in gods or the divine are not devout in that non-belief, you're not paying attention because they are. They really are. So, bright light. So, what is paganism? Well, straight up, the definition of pagan comes from a Latin word. So, Christianity spread across the countryside with the expansion of the Roman Empire. Um, because the Roman Empire converted to Christianity after the death of Christ at some point because, well, the Romans were odd ducks. And if anybody has ever studied history of any kind, they understand that the Romans were odd ducks. But anyways, with that expansion, there was a conversion to Christianity. And so it wasn't the word pagan wasn't really used a lot until after that time. They were just people that had different beliefs up until that point, and often um, the Roman Empire actually just absorbed all of those different beliefs as they conquered different countries. They would just accept those people as they were. They just had to acknowledge that the Roman Empire was the one. That's who they had to pay their tithes and their taxes and everything to. Because for the longest time, the Roman Empire themselves had multiple deities. They didn't become a monotheist really until much later. And so they developed this word called, they used the word paganus, or paginus, Paganism, um, which means country dweller. And it wasn't really used for religious purposes or spiritual purposes initially. It was actually used to, as a slanderous word, if you will, towards those who didn't live within the cities, because they felt that those who lived in the cities were more knowledgeable and more elite and understood life more and were more civilized. And those who lived rurally or in the country were just, country bumpkins. They just didn't understand anything. And so, as time marched on, just like in many other cultures, the word paginus became, or to mean more than just country dweller. It came to mean also polytheism, or worship of more than one god, especially as the Roman Empire became more of a monotheistic type of dynasty. And so it was interesting that as this happened, the city folk, the civilized people of the Roman Empire, considered those who were in the country to be pagans and didn't really have a religion, right? Because they worshipped more than one god, and they were hedonistic and self indulgent, and they reveled in sensual pleasures. Which the reason for the irony is, if anybody looks at the Roman Empire and the downfall of it, well, yeah, they were very much hedonistic and very much into the sensual pleasures. And wow, boy, were they just kind of, yeah. So nowadays we call it neo-paganism, because a lot of the paganistic beliefs from that time frame were passed on by word of mouth, because a lot of the country folk didn't have ways to record their beliefs. There was some, yes, peasants, right? Yes, absolutely. Lucky is Tooth Frequency News says peasant, right? Yes, peasant, basically. So back in the day, they may have drawn pictures or pictoglyphs. That's why a lot of imagery was on the pots that they created, the artwork that the craftsmen created imagery on the things they used in the daily life. And that's where a lot of the historical information that we have regarding some of these belief paths have been recorded. That's why we have some of the information that we have. Not so much because it was written down somewhere, but that's because of where it was. It was passed by word of mouth from teacher to apprentice and so on. And it wasn't until monks, the Christian monks, started spreading through the countryside and deciding that they should write down some of these stories for, I don't know, maybe they're bored, maybe it was an order from the Holy See, maybe it was just because they wanted to show that, hey, look at the Satanistic beliefs that you guys have, and we're going to show you because we're going to write down all these stories. But regardless, all of those stories were written down through the Christian lens. So a lot of the tales that we do have recorded are written down by Christian monks. So while like the Morrigan or the Valkyrie or Hecate or Hell or any of the dark gods and goddesses seem like really scary and stuff, a lot of that is mostly because they were written through the lens of a Christian belief system who already believed in heaven and hell. and and assumed that the dark gods and goddesses, and I'm using dark in quotation marks here, um, would have um, been similar. So when Loki's daughter Hel was, put in charge of the underworld, the Christians interpreted Hel as to being someone similar to Satan, who is in charge of the Christian underworld, Hel with two L's, and they're not the same. They really aren't. Um, and so the afterlife from all of the different pantheons are extraordinarily different. They're all after death. Whether your life or your heart is being weighed on a scale against a feather, or you have died in battle and are going to Valhalla, or you haven't and you're going to the Elysian fields, it doesn't really matter. They're all different. And to try to force all of those different belief systems into this one path and squished out of a tube to be just like the Christian belief system and fit the definition of Christian hell and Christian heaven just doesn't work. And so when I talk to folks that are wanting to explore their spiritual path and learn more about what it means to be a pagan and not a Christian, especially according to today's society and societal beliefs, one of the first things that I have to do is despiritualize them, if you will. And it's not so much because their spiritual beliefs are wrong and not going to work. It's more because their interpretation of what the gods and goddesses are like, or the divine is like, is through that Christian lens. And so a lot of today's pagans, the neo-pagans, if you will, try very hard, or often try to put the divine, regardless of the tradition, into that same Christian box. So they'll be like, well, I worship so and so. Well, often the divine don't necessarily need a worship similar to the Christian gods. Now, some do, because that is their inherent belief set. But some do not. Actually, most don't. Most are relationship type deities. Often it is an honor system. We are honoring the divine, if you will. So when, especially if I am talking to someone about the wild way, it is more I am talking about the way I do things. And so it is, how do we go about approaching the divine now? How do we petition the divine? And it can vary. It's like, what is it you want to do? What is your plan? What's your goal? First and foremost, what is it you would like to achieve? Is it something that you can actually do? Do you have the skill set to do the thing? Do you not have the skill set to do the thing? Are you looking for patience? Are you looking for just some assistance? Is the divine the right call, or is it your ancestry? Do you need to look at your ancestors and ask for some help there? Because a lot of times, those that will help us the most are truly our ancestors and not the divine. Because who's going to have the most vested interest in us? The ones who came before us, who are kind of focused on our bloodline anyways, or the divine? So the Wild Way incorporates both the divine and the honoring of our ancestors, because both are extraordinarily important. You could say they're two legs to the chair, or two legs to the table, if you will. Because if you don't have the ability to have both, are you going to be able to do the things? the other leg of the table, if you will, would be magic, straight up magic. For me, magic is energy, and energy is magic. The things we do today with energy, and I say energy, and to define that, think of electricity. Electricity is energy, and the things we do with electricity today. It drives our cars, it powers our electronics, it does all of the things. Um, if we didn't have the ability to do all of the things with electricity today, where would we be? Well, we would probably not be where we are. If we took, say, my studio setup, I've got 1, 2, 3 monitors, I've got my light thing, I've got my camera, microphone, my fan moving air to keep me from overheating, my sound studio, 3D printers, CNC machine, because this is quite the different layout than I had before. Seriously. And so if I took all of this and I picked it up and I moved it 3,000 years into the past and it still worked, would this room not be magic to those people? Well, yes, it would be. And if someone 3,000 years into the future took the equivalent of everything that I have now and showed it to me now, would it not feel like magic? Yeah, it would. Are you kidding me? There's some stuff out there right now that when I see it, I'm like, ah, that's magic. It's awesome. And that's because there's some stuff out there that is just like walking that line. So, yeah, energy is magic, magic is energy. You cannot do one without the other. And so that's why Reiki is very much energy manipulation. If you've never encountered Reiki magic or Reiki energy and that energy work, by golly, you're missing out because it is real. I have managed to change up my medication routine and everything, and I feel better than I have in years. I would almost say decades at this point, because I am now doing acupuncture instead of taking medication. And that for me is huge. Huge, kids. Very, very huge. And so for me to feel that way, um, that's miraculous. Now, acupuncture is an old medicine that's been around for millennia. So, yeah, um, that's a pretty big deal. So, you know, I would really truly um, stop and think about what that is, and your energy work. So that would be for me. Um, well, hello, Jake. Uh, you know, I, absolutely, energy work, magic work is the 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 third leg on the table. Now, do I observe the witch calendar with like Lunasa, which is today, by the way? So happy Lunasa. Well, tomorrow, today, the full moons, the that kind of thing. Yes, to some extent. I pay attention to the moons more than I do the holidays. Um, Mostly because the moons, I feel the energy from the moons more than I do the specific witch holidays, if you will. But a lot of those still have a lot of emphasis and meaning and celebration of the holiday, the seasonal transitions. So I think a lot of that stuff is important too. Um, so in many ways, I suppose the fourth leg on my table would be that consistency of celebrating and honoring and doing, I guess. That would include journaling, by the way, kids. Um, when it comes to my path, my tradition. So in and it's not a one size fits all case, because sometimes those holidays don't really fit. They don't always do the thing. So yeah, this being a Lunasa week, in the celebration of Lu, I can honor Lu without necessarily celebrating him. Does that make sense? Um, because I'm an omnitheist. Um, just like I honor the land whites in my area. I think it's important because if I don't, um, the energy will change and I won't have the same benefits with the land that I have. I just have a small lot because we moved. For those of you who haven't been online or haven't talked to me lately, yes, I have a town. I have a townhouse now. Townhome, I should say townhome, and went from living in the country with lots of buffer to a beautiful 6 foot privacy fence. But you still have to make sure that your land whites are happy with you. Just like my neighbor gal, um, she has a tendency to um, muck about in her yard quite a bit. She's always mowing and weed whacking and tweaking and plucking, and it just kind of reminds me of someone in the 90s who has overplucked their eyebrows, and her poor yard has been overplucked. Um, but but I digress. That's just all there is to it. So yeah, it's just the different ebb and flow of the energy of my space and trying to keep track of that. So, but the energy of it again and connecting with it. So being respectful of my space. And being in tune with my environment. So that's still kind of an energy a little bit, but yet it's a little bit bigger than that. Um, so being aware, I suppose, of my environment and those around me. It's a little bit more than energy work, and it's a little bit more than 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 the other things, because it's like a keystone, if you will, being aware of the non-divine and the bits and pieces around me. And some days I drop the ball and I scramble the omelet and everything goes wonky around me. And, it's just like, I'm going back to bed because this just totally sucks. And I need to get up on the other side, maybe have some more coffee because this isn't working. Because sometimes that's just the way of it. And other days it's all good. So, it can vary. And it really does. Um, so yeah, I've noticed coming back online, I have a lot of little filler words that I didn't remember doing before. Uh, I need to work on those, so I apologize for the filler words. I really do. I'll work on those. It's just been a while, okay? I promise. I feel like I need a tally mark or something, or maybe do shots of vegetable juice or something every time I say a filler word. I don't know. It's just weird. I haven't been online much for the last couple of years. It was a rough year last year. I had to cleanse the whole year. It was bad. And it's taken me a little bit to get on online now because the first 6 months of the year were kind of rough too. So, but we're doing better now. Absolutely better. Absolutely better. Absolutely. So yes, um, the Wild Way is very much four legs to it. Even though generally it's three is the best number, sometimes you need that fourth leg just to keep from tipping over. Yes. Let's see. Time check. Oh, we're at half an hour. All right. Yes, we can do an herb. Let's see. What's in a good herb? You know what? Let's start with salt because salt is like one of those foundational elements, I think, of things, yeah, that most of us in the witchy world, pagan world, etc., that we talk about, when in doubt, add salt, because, well, we do. We use a lot of salt. Um, we really do. I mean, if you quick Google search witchy ways to use salt, there we go. And wow, there's a lot of stuff here. I wonder what AI says. I hate the AI. I feel complicated about AI. On the one hand, I don't like it. On the other hand, there's some really interesting things here. So it says salt has many uses in witchcraft, primarily for protection and cleansing. Kind of like some of the summaries they do. They can be used to absorb negative energy, create protective boundaries, and purify spaces. Yep, those are all true. Common practices include drawing protective circles with salt, sprinkling it around the home, or incorporating it into witch bottles for added protection. Yep, I like that. Different types of salt, like black salt or Himalayan salt, are believed to have unique properties, can be chosen based on specific intentions. All right, so black salt is something that you create. Himalayan salt is salt. One of the reasons why a lot of folks choose Himalayan salt over regular table salt, just real quick, is because Himalayan salt is assumed to be a little more natural rather than more uh, uh, processed. So a lot of commercial salt has been iodized. It's been very, very processed, and a lot of times it's not as natural. I mean, salt is salt, and it'll work. It just often doesn't feel as natural. Um, it just doesn't. So I will have an article I can drop into the notes here. So if you ever read any of the articles on Learned Religions by Patty Wigginton, she's really awesome. So, um, salt, once upon a time, used to be considered one of the most valuable resources, even above and beyond gold, because one, it made food taste good. It was a preservative, so it made food last longer, and it was just it was hard to come by. So the Romans, going back to the Romans again, they actually paid their soldiers with salt, and that's where the word salary comes from the word salt. Um, so it was like really, really important. And then also so not just in neo-paganism, but also other Eastern belief systems such as Buddhism and Shintoism also use salt as a purifier and to repel evil. So in um, in Germany, Normandy, Scotland, etc., salt has been used around the butter churn to keep witches away from the butter or harming the cow in which it was contained or obtained from. So that was in the late 1800s. That was in a book called Magic of the Horseshoe. That's funny. Irish folk remedies include using the salt combined with recitation of the Lord's Prayer to cure those who might be fairy struck. Um, Bavaria and Ukraine had similar stories. And Egyptian caravans setting out on a journey across the desert used to perform a ritual that involved burning salt on hot coals is to make sure that evil spirits wouldn't get in the way of travelers. Interesting. So salt is often used in a lot of purification spells, and rituals nowadays, like cleansing with salt. Yeah, and that actually is comes from like taking a bath in salt water, like the Black Sea, that kind of thing. It's been around for a while, just because a lot of times salt water is very cleansing in general, medicinally. Did you know, like if you have a sore throat and you gargle with salt water, it'll help your sore throat. It'll help kill off some of those microbes in your throat that are causing the sore throat. If you go to the dentist and you have some work done, they will tell you to rinse with salt water, by the way, um, after, well, maybe not immediately, because you're not supposed to swish around or gargle with, like, if you had a tooth pulled, because that's a good way to get dry socket. Nobody wants that. It's bad. But once you can start moving that blood clot around, they'll have you rinse with salt water, because it is a lot better for your body than mouthwash, because mouthwash has a lot of other chemicals and stuff in it. And you know what? Salt water, pretty shelf stable. I mean, you have salt, you have water, you mix the two. Suddenly, salt water, you do what you need to do. You don't need to make a lot of it. So, it used to be that someone spilled salt at dinner. It meant a family quarrel was on the way. It used to be considered bad luck to lend salt to someone, because that could lead to a feud between the borrower and the lender, partly because salt was so blasted expensive. So, a good way to avoid this is, if you get a cup of salt from someone, pay it back with sugar or molasses instead, partly because both were highly expensive. In northern England and Scotland, it was seen as bad luck to lend salt, um, because the person borrowing it could use it as a magical link to curse you. Salt can be used to detect the presence of witches, supposedly, in the Ozarks. So it's believed that witches don't eat much salt. So if someone complains about food being too salty, they might be regarded with suspicion. There's also a tale where bewitched cattle will not touch salt. Interesting. Um, and then there's also the if you spill salt, you throw a little bit over your shoulder to keep evil at bay and bring good luck. I mean, think about it. If you spill salt and you throw a little bit over your shoulder, well, hello, Tommy. Um, you're going to throw it in the eye of whomever is right behind you. It's one way to get people away from you. Sorry. Yes, I am a stinkerbat. Um, so how do you use salt in a magical way? Well, you can use it to absorb negative energy. I've seen and recommended salt bowls. That's where you have just a bowl today with a bowl with some salt in it, and you can put other herbs in it to help repel those negative energy waves. Often it's with like cloves and other kind of fiery types spices. It can vary with what you need. Sometimes people use salt water, and if it's a really negative energy, I've seen that salt water turn totally black. That's been kind of wild. Um, you can use salt to clean your house, um, like just salt water, depending on your house and what's going on. Um, Lucky and I both have used salt water and vinegar and dish soap, like Dawn dish soap concoction, to go through to spray weeds around the home so that they go away, and without harming bugs or animals or anything, because sometimes you just don't want those weeds. They might be good for you in other respects, but they're just not in the right spot. And if they're not contained, well, they're not in the right place. That's all there is to it. So, um, a little bit of salt does go a long way when you're cooking, honestly. Um, Really, truly. And if you are keeping things like salt in your kitchen, specifically for cooking purposes, just keep it in your kitchen for cooking purposes. If you have salt that you want to use for witchcraft type things or magical purposes, keep something separate. That way you're not mixing them up. So I have salt that I've had that I put out to um, bless specifically in the specific moon cycles or moon phases, excuse me, or like a red moon or a full moon or that kind of thing. And because I wanted a specific energy charged into that salt to do different workings with it, and I try to keep that separate. Funny story: if you don't keep your magic stuff separate from your regular stuff, other people in your house might use that regular stuff, thinking it was an everyday item. Mr. Don has actually has drank my moon water. That's why I just use pure moon water. I don't mix it with other stuff because you never know who's going to pick it up and drink it. Um, I mean, you can drink moon water. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually pretty good for you because you're getting that energy into your body. It's good for you. But it was funny that time because, yeah, it was. So, um, let's see. But when it comes to cooking, you know, when they talk about, Himalayan salt or other salts, um, uh, you know, that's when the different kinds of salt kind of come into play. And, you know, it's, you know, trying to think how to explain it. So different salts are good for different purposes. There's regular table salts and yeah. And and then what? Well, there's salt that you cook with that has a certain flavor. I have some smoked salt that's really fantastic that I'll add to different soups and stews to give that smoky flavor to it. Yes, that is flippin' fantastic. I rather like that. So, um, I really do. Um, but there's something I mentioned a little earlier, and that was black salt. And I figured I'd just go over that real quick. And sadly, I'm going to give you just this one's not mine. It's just one I'm going to give you. Um, and I can't believe this. It's a WikiHow thing. I'm just going to give you, I want to see what this is. Black salt is called witch salt. Okay. Yeah. It's a common ingredient in spells for protection or getting rid of negativity. According to folk magic, black salt will even repel people who mean you harm. All right, ready to try it? Okay, interesting. I'll put this wiki how to make black salt in the show notes. That's hilarious. All right, things you should know. Um, you make black salt by mixing together ashes, sea salt, black pepper, and activated charcoal. Yeah, that's really all it is. Um, for added potency, burn protective herbs and add them to your ashes. And use black salt to protect your home, banish negativity, or create protection spell jars. Yep. And you can discard black salt by burying it, tossing it into the wind, or throwing it into flowing water. Yeah, basically. And there's pictures on how to do it. Oh my stars! There's wikis for everything nowadays. That is insane. I am just. There's even pictures on where to put it and what to do. Oh my goodness. That is amazing. There's even a YouTube from the WikiHow. Oh my goodness. Why would I recreate the wheel here? Yes, I will just add this video. That's insane to me. So, yes, I'm just, I'm blown away. I just, my mind is boggled. Interesting. So, for me, for the ashes, I will keep the ashes from incense that I've burned. I have used ashes from my fire pit honestly. Um, but mostly it's incense that I've burned, and then I have used different herbs that I wanted to add specifically. So, like if I am wanting to really give my spell jars an extra kick in the butt when it comes to being, extra protective, I will add something that I've burned specifically for protection, and then I will add that. Now, the the wiki how I'm just blown away, guys. Totally blown away. The wiki how here has suggests cast iron flakes, which are optional, which I actually have because I live. So, Sandpoint, the community where I live, we have like 60 to 70 rail trains that come through the area daily. So railroad spikes are pretty easy to come by, and there used to be it was a thriving train traveling community for a very long time. There's even a train station here, so your trains can stop. It's insane. It's awesome, and so there's. I'm just saying, you can get rust really easy. Um, so I have that activated charcoal. You can get that pretty much at any store anymore. And then they recommend rosemary, sage, pennyroyal, lavender, lemongrass, or hyssop. Huh. Just and you can download it. So if you download it, which I would recommend doing, you can keep it as a PDF and have an electronic grimoire or Book of Shadows witchy notebook kind of a thing. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Or you can print it out and start keeping a notebook. Honestly, I don't know about you guys, but I know that here the power will go out occasionally. Not because the grid is sensitive or anything like that. It's because people are idiots and don't always drive very good and will run into things and occasionally knock the power out. Not too recently, dipshit. I'm going to say dipshit. A dipshit was driving erratically, lost control, ran off the road, and hit a power pole, and it laid across the road for 4 hours while they were getting a new power pole hauled up to where they were and had to dig it into, put it in the ground and do all the things and then restring the wire. I mean, it was ridiculous because it was live wires across the highway. Main arterial route north and south in Idaho. Stupid because the guy was driving like an idiot. And because there's a picture of his truck and being damaged and stuff on the Facebook. I love social media sometimes. He got totally called out for being an erratic driver, and that's just the way he drives because he's an entitled asshole, and that's what he does. So, if that's what he does, I gotta fuck around and find out. So yeah, he FAFO. He got the bill for that one. I don't know. Does insurance cover that? If you're driving like an idiot and you run into a power pole, I don't know what the fees for that are, but dang, I wouldn't want to pay his rates. Mm-mm. So, just saying, the power sometimes goes out, and sometimes you need to have the information. If you can print it out, I would. I would. Or write it out. If you've got good handwriting, write it out so you can read it. Put it on a 3x5 note card and put it in a recipe box. Or I have a big, beautiful, lovely book that I've been putting things in scrapbook style because it's beautiful and why not? So, just saying. And there's pictures here, and they're not horrible, they're graphics. And it's like 2 parts sea salt, 1 part ashes, and grind them all together and mix in the black pepper and the activated charcoal and keep mixing. Now, it's not always going to look black, just so you guys know. If you see someone says, "Oh, hey, I've got black salt for sale," and it's like, which is black salt for sale, and you're like, "But it's gray." Yeah, that's because ash is often gray. When you mix gray with or white ash, like light colored ash, with something black, it's often going to be gray. So, yes. And then you just store it in a glass. Um, it doesn't really expire ever. Yeah. So yeah. Now, one thing that this particular interesting number 7 here in the steps says, since jars can hold on to energy, it's a good idea to purify it by wafting incense or sage smoke over it. Okay, well, sure, but if you've washed it, that's just like cleansing it. So as you're washing things, think I'm cleansing it of negative energy, and every in all energy, so it'll be neutral when it's all clean. That's the same basic thing. Water, basic water, is cleansing. So yeah, I guess you can do the same thing when you're taking a shower. I'm taking a shower and I'm cleansing myself of all dirt and negative energy. And so there you go. So that's a little recipe on how to do black salt. And it doesn't expire, so you can sprinkle it along your windowsills, your door sills, your property line. You can put it in jars, and you can add other things, and then you can put it in a spray bottle, shake it up, spritz it on people. So yeah, if you're walking around someplace and someone's being a jerk, go away, go away. I'm kidding, don't do that, but it's a fun visual. Oh, is it ever a fun visual? Mhm. um, um, so if you don't need it anymore, dispose of it properly, and yeah, don't eat it. Whatever you do, it's not edible because you've got other things in there. Thanks for stopping by, Tommy. Um, so I guess pay attention, and uh, if you're doing research on spells and what you're doing and your deities and your divine and such, journal it all, write it down, do your due diligence. I can't talk, blah blah blah, and make sure that when you're doing your due diligence, that you're not just throwing stuff out there, and you're not just assuming that everything is accurate, because sadly, the internet is not always right, and they will happily lead you astray, and that's just the truth of it. So that's why journaling is 100% important, and you can make notes and you can do the things, and that will keep you from making mistakes and errors. And if you do something and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You can go back to your journal and be like, oh, that's what happened. I'm good to go. Awesome. That's why journaling is important. And if you do something and you're like, and the next night you dream about the thing, and then you're like, oh, that's so cool. Write down your results, guys. That way you can have this cause and effect journal also. And because your dreams will tell you things. Even though dream work is not necessarily one of those legs on the table, it is definitely a book on the table, because it is very, very important. Your dream work, extraordinarily important. Very, very important. So, anyways, I guess that's all for me today. I need to go get some more water because my water bottle's empty. And I'm going to hop off of here and I will be on again. I promise. I'm going to try to make this Theology Thursday thing a thing because it's fun. And I'm going to get Lucky back on here too. Dang it. So, thank you for joining me. This is Paisley Wilde. This is the Spaces Between. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And stay cool, everybody, or warm, depending on where you're at.